Right, let's move straight to our final conversation. Saboteurs are individuals who intentionally disrupt progress, often to serve personal or hidden agendas. The Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE, has accused certain individuals within President Tinubu's government of frustrating the implementation of the Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. On July 11, 2024, the Supreme Court issued a landmark judgment directing that local government allocations be paid directly into their accounts. However, this directive has yet to be implemented. Ismail, who are the saboteurs frustrating the implementation of the Supreme Court judgment on local government? I mean, who are these people?
Honestly, when I saw the topic, that was the first question I asked myself. And I asked that question because if the Ministry of Justice, headed by Prince Lateef Fagbemi, had not been forthcoming, perhaps I may direct my searchlight there.
Okay.
But in fairness to Prince Lateef Fagbemi, in fact, so far in the history of Nigeria, I have come to see him as one of the most effective Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
True.
He doesn't make noise, but
results,
the results,
exactly.
The results we have been getting since he came in. So I don't really know who the saboteurs are, but from the story I read, I think what NULGE is saying is that the accounts that the federal government asks be open with the CBN, that because of lack of presence of CBN in some states, I don't know which of those states, that has been a bit difficult. But regardless, I believe very strongly that government too should not be going back and forth over it, because judgment is a judgment. For me, where the federal government got it wrong was to be negotiating after the judgment, because a judgment
is already done. No more negotiation, implementation.
There shouldn't have been any negotiation of the, okay, I will give them time, okay, I will start the implementation. See, the moment you begin to give room for such excuses, if you are not careful, the law may never take effect.
The Supreme Court is a court of national policy. Now, NULGE said that the federal government has not fulfilled its responsibility in ensuring the adherence of this ruling. So what should the federal government do? Because they're not even blaming the governors, they're looking at the federal government.
No, the government has nothing to do with it. It's the federal government.
The federal government.
Yeah, it's just lack of political will. That's just
what
the
sort
problem.
of political will are we looking at?
I will tell you. The federal government, the Tinubu administration,
yes,
decided that they want to make that major change.
Yes.
If you remember that it was first proposed under President Buhari. So the Tinubu government went to the Supreme Court to say the Supreme Court should interpret that law.
Yes.
The Supreme Court said, okay, they should pay directly to local governments. That is the law. That is the judgment from the Supreme Court.
Yes,
so
and that makes it law.
You want to achieve something. That is why you went. That's why the Attorney General went to the Supreme Court.
Is that not enough political will?
For determination.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court has so ordered that funds should be paid directly to local governments. So the next thing was for them to go ahead and execute that judgment.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, the governors didn't agree. The governors are saying, no, to affect certain things and all that. And because the government did not agree, the federal government did not have the political will to overrule the governors and say we will pay directly to this local government. Don't forget that in the course of this discussion, some local governments wrote that they want their money paid to their governor, to the state account. Yeah. Some local governments said that. So because of that, the federal government did not have the will to impose it. So that is where the negotiation that he talked about came about. There shouldn't be negotiation in the first place. Immediately there is an order of the Supreme Court,
just have to follow the
it should have been
judgment.
executed.
Exactly.
But because the governors didn't agree, the federal government was now trying to negotiate with them to say, okay, what we do. If you do notice that there are some states started making laws to
like
say,
Anambra,
especially states that have local government, because they believe that if they are going to pay directly to local governments, then a lot of local governments that were created, even it happened in Lagos, that's part of the problems with the bill that the Lagos House of Assembly because the argument is that if they are going to pay directly to local government, they are going to pay directly to local government identified by law. For example, in Lagos, we have 20 local governments and 37 LCDAs. But in the face of the law, only 20 is recognized. So what they used to do is that when they send the money to those people, they're in-house within the state, each local government and the LCDAs under them knows they have the sharing formula to be able to share that. But if you want to follow this new law, the LCDAs cannot collect anything because they are not recognized in the face of the law. So that's the problem that they have. So the governors are arguing that it will give them administrative problems within their states in terms of funding of local government, whereas the law says pay directly to them. So because of that, the federal government does not have enough will to see. So that's why they kept postponing it. They kept negotiation and saying, the other time they said, oh, they are going to start paying by January. By January, they are not paying. So they have to resolve that the federal government has to make up its mind whether it wants to execute that policy or not.
Yeah. They also talked about stumbling blocks. Now I ask, what are those stumbling blocks? Do we need to amend some sections of the Constitution? Because there have been arguments that some sections of the Constitution need to be amended for that judgment to go in play. Like Section 162, which talks about how the funds from facts had to be distributed. Section 2 of the Constitution, which talks about the FCT and state government not recognized local. Do you think some sections of the Constitution need to be amended for the smooth sale of local government?
I agree that we need to tinker with some provisions of the Constitution. And I say so from the point of information. I was privileged to serve as the media consultant to the Senate Committee on Constitutional Review during the 8th Senate. And I'm aware that this issue of local government autonomy was seriously debated. And part of the issue we had then was, I think part of the proposal that was even put forward then was that any state where the governors refuse to conduct local government elections
should not get
allocation. But you know, the Constitution, I can't remember the section now, but you know, the Constitution also gives the state power to regulate local government.
Yeah.
That is where the controversy lies.
Yes.
It is just that most times the Supreme Court, most of the time, also pander towards political judgments. Otherwise, we shouldn't be tinkering with provisions of the Constitution every now and then. The moment the Supreme Court makes pronouncement, it should just stand as part of
the court of national policy.
Yeah, but because most of the time they also pander to, political sentiments, and that is why most of the time you don't really understand where they are going. Just yesterday, I was discussing with a colleague of mine. When INEC came up with beavers, everybody applauded it. Everybody concluded that it was a game changer. After the governorship election in Osun in 2022, APC went to court to challenge the outcome of that election on the basis of overvoting. And what beavers does is to capture those who have come out to vote on the day of election.
Registered voters,
Registered voters. Meaning that at a glance, you could identify overvoting. But when we got to court, the court said that to prove overvoting, you still need the voter register. And don't forget, in the voter register, you have names of those who may not have come out to vote. You have names of those who are dead. You have names of those who may have relocated. And the court is insisting that to prove overvoting, you must add the voter register. That was how APC lost, APC lost. And if we must continue with beavers, they will still have to think out with the Electoral Act, the way it is, based on that judgment. Yeah. And that was why immediately that judgment was decided, the way it was decided, it was difficult to prove over voting in subsequent electoral matters. And that was why other subsequent off-season elections in some states, they will just sit down and take everybody in the voter register as having come out to vote. How do you challenge it? Because there is a Supreme Court ruling on that.
Now, still talking about this issue, does it look as if the governors are scared of local government autonomy? I mean, will it make them less of a governor?
No. It's not that they are scared. It's not that they are scared. The problem basically has to do with that funds.
Is the money.
A lot of governors appropriate large chunk of that money to themselves. In a lot of states, not all the states.
Most of the states, local government funds that they use to execute projects.
Yes.
So the moment you take it away from them, it will affect.
It's a chunk of money that they use.
So
because when the money comes to them, to the state, and they're supposed to distribute it to the local government. In some states, they will just give each local government enough money to be able to pay salaries and other statutory things. And then they will claim that we are going to execute some projects on your behalf, or we have executed some projects on your behalf, and we have deducted that money. Because, in fact, that's the reason why this law, that's why they said, okay, let us pay directly to local government, so that as another tier of government, they will be able to execute things themselves. But a lot of governors do not want to let go of that money. That is the main problem.
Even as they are fighting over that, I know of a particular state where the governors and the political actors are already discussing with those that will be elected as local government chairmen that they must enter into oath-taking process to say that, look, even if you collect this money, this is the amount you must remit. You know, there are some politicians who believe in that.
How do we even have a local government autonomy when the election process looks like a selection process?
No, there's not even election. Because
that's why I call it selection.
Yes, because the irony of it is that because of federalism, each state conducts their own local government election. And what you see is just that it's a joke. Every state, they will return, whoever is the ruling party there,
will return
all the local governments.
Except in some local governments where, because I have seen in some instances where the people resisted it. It happened in Kaduna.
Yeah, I think they used
under Yakowa. It also happened under El-Rufai.
Yeah, under El-Rufai.
Yeah, under Yakowa, CPC, that was when CPC was coming up. So they were in control of Kaduna, not local government. And so after the election, they announced the result of every other local government and left that of Kaduna North. And that was the strong base of the CPC. So by evening of the Saturday, I was a bureau chief then. One of my correspondents now sent a story. And the story was that Boko Haram threatened to unleash terror on Kaduna if a particular party was declared. At first, I didn't even mean it to that story. He sent the story to Lagos. He copied me. So when it was 6 p.m., I now called. If they had announced the result of that Kaduna North, they said no. I said, I now called the correspondent of mine. I said, come, the story you filed 3 hours ago, who gave you, because he quoted sources, who gave you the story? It turned out that it was one of the special advisors to the governor on religious affairs that gave the story. So I quickly called my editor then. I think it was Mr. Stephen Wosu. I said, sir, please don't use this story. Drop it. I suspect a foul play. I now called the commissioner for information. I told him in outside, I said, you people want to rig the election in Kaduna North, and that's you want. If there's now crisis, you blame it on Boko Haram. He said, no, Ismail, where did you get your information? I said, well, this was what one of your colleagues told my correspondent. And he said, no. In less than 30 minutes, they released the result of that local government and declared CPC winner. So if the people show resistance, sometimes the government will have no choice. But where you just allow them, let them do whatever they want to do, they will do it. Because I know that there are some local governments where the government in power is not popular.
Yeah.
And so it is left for the people of that area to come together to show the government in power that, look, we have the power to decide who we want to govern us.
Okay, now on a final note, if now local governments now have this autonomy, transparency and accountability on the part of local governments. I remember in Anambra State when they came up with this law that, oh, they are not agreeing with the judgment. He said, we need to be aware just for transparency and accountability of this money when it comes to the sharing. Now, how do we hold these local governments to account? Who should hold them to account on how this money is used?
Is the
just
people.
In 60 seconds.
Is the people.
How?
And it has happened before.
How?
Look, you can't come to the state capital, but you can access the local government chairman's office.
So easy.
Can the people now say, bring
Of
out your
course,
books, let us see?
No, you don't need.
If you collect, if for example, if they pay directly,
yes, to the local government, yes,
it shows that the volume of the money
volume, yeah,
you're collecting has increased.
Okay.
You understand? The people are aware of that. So if you are not doing what you are supposed to do, it is so easy for the people to come to your office and hold you to account. Because unlike governors or president, people can walk into local government chairman. They know him, he's around, they see him everywhere, and it's easier. That's why people say that they are the closest to the people. Because
there are some local government who stay in the state capital.
Yeah, they stay in the capital.
If the experience of 1999 is anything to go by, I believe that there are still some local government chairmen that will be responsive and will be responsible. I was in Borno between 2000 and 2003. Okay. And I recall Kakamal and Yali. He won the best local government. In fact, Obasanjo publicly recognized its effort at the time. So there are people who want to do well for their local government. So I believe very strongly that if we have local government autonomy the way we should have it, the people are wise enough.
I think it's time for us to start having local governments who even increase their own revenue.
They should even do things, inner roads and different things.
But anyway, it's a fine place for us to live, Ismail Omipino. Thank you very much for having us, for coming right here to have this conversation with us. Thank you so much. How do you say our studio?
Oh, beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful.
Exactly.
Honestly, it's comparable to any international
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And also thank you so much to the gentlemen in the back room, pressing the buttons for us to have a beautiful show. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.